This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
You idiot!
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Monday. It's MLK Day. So happy MLK Day to you all. Everyone who is watching, got a great show for you today. So starting out the week, we got some important stories. Fun times. We have, of course, a couple of Trump stories, including something that is actually very relevant. It was relevant then. It's relevant now. It has to do with, of course, national security and classified material. Interesting stuff. We have, of course, also transcripts of a taped deposition from Trump in the Eugene Carroll case. So that's important. Also, content warning about that because it is kind of disturbing. As it deals with sexual assault. So, and specifically Trump attacking a victim, so of his alleged assault. So with that, we're also going to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse back in the news. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about it. George Santos, if that's his real name. And then finally, House Republicans, yes, they're admitting, you know what? Social Security, cutting Social Security. Yeah, we're definitely going to do it. And in fact, that's going to help people. We're only doing it because people are asking us to. Interesting. Very interesting. So, we'll go through. I'll show you the video here from a Republican who is a representative working on a study committee that wants to cut your Social Security. All right, with that said, why don't we start out with the classified material stuff, which I'm sure you're very interested in. Yes, we're going to talk about a little bit about the documents. Apparently, all the dumps.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Or maybe not. Anyway, let's do it. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. With that said, let's get it started. Let's get this Monday going right. All right. Former President Donald Trump had to be repeatedly told not to share classified material and information with his buddies. Now, this is according to a New York Times journalist, Michael Schmidt. Here he is on MSNBC talking about how badly Trump was with classified information. This is national security information. Take a look.
Kelly would have to remind Trump he could not share classified information with his friends. Previous Trump advisors have certainly spoken out about how he would often ask, can I keep these documents? They'd say, actually, you can't. Talk about that. Is this something that Kelly expected? And how often did this kind of thing happen?
Well, I think Kelly was terrified about a lot about Trump. The North Korea stuff, the way that he talked about classified information, the way that he would use a personal cell phone to talk to people, you know, and presidents of the United States should not be using their personal cell phones to do that. But Kelly didn't trust that Trump knew how to handle classified information, that Trump would talk openly about these things. And Kelly would try and stop Trump from doing things that could damage national security. Here's the chief of staff to the president of the United States concerned that the president of the United States could damage national security. Remember, the president of the United States is supposed to be in charge of protecting the country. But Trump behaved in such a abnormal, immoral way in Kelly's eyes that he didn't trust what Trump could do.
Yeah. So, look, before I get into some more of the details, right, in my reaction to this, let me just note that John Kelly is not a good person. Again, he's a vicious, vicious person. But at the same time, even he's like, I got to be the adult in the room because Trump's a man baby. He's a man baby. He's going to give away all our secrets. I got to do something. I have to repeatedly tell him, hey, remember Donnie boy, all right? Do not tell the North Koreans our classified information, okay? I know you're having these back and forth with Kim Jong-un, and by the way, I support diplomacy and all that, but he described them as love letters between him and the North Korean dictator. Okay, so Donnie, remember when you and Kim Jong-un, you're gushing over each other, just make sure not to give away all the secrets, okay? Please, Don, just remember that. Okay, John. Well, you can't tell me what to do. Again, the whole thing is ridiculous. But let me just talk about here the quote from Schmidt. He said, Trump behaved in such an abnormal, immoral way in Kelly's eye that he didn't trust what Trump would do. I don't know why that struck me. But it did. Because, like, oh, Donald Trump behaving abnormally, you say? No, the abnormal is normal for him. And so he's been nothing but abnormal. Obviously, of course, sharing classified information openly, it's very concerning. Okay, it's very concerning. And again, especially when you consider when you think about who he considered to be friends, not just North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, but you also have your local idiots, Roger Stone, horrible people. And by the way, they can be both horrible people and idiots. Steve Bannon, Candace Owens, Kanye West was a friend of Trump. You also had assorted Newsmax and Fox News hosts. Anybody could have been overhearing classified information, or just they didn't even have to overhear it. They would have just been told directly, hey, check it out. I've got this classified information. I declassified it with my mind. I'm going to tell you now because it's super exciting. No, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that at all. And this reminds me, of course,
The brand new F-35s, fighter jets. They're stealth. You can't see them.
you can't see them. You can't see them. And we're sharing our technical capability with anybody because I can't help myself. Now think about it, something that was actually like classified. Disastrous. And yet here we have the Republican Party that is completely focused on Joe Biden. Now, hold on. So look, Biden's lawyers recently found material from the Obama-Biden administration that was not in the National Archives. And now you have a special counsel that is investigating. I actually don't have an issue with a special counsel investigating to make sure that all the documents were returned, and of course, whether or not Biden had followed proper protocol at the end of the Biden administration, because I actually do care about national security. This is not a political, like, oh, only Donald Trump did the bad thing. Or, you know, if you're a Republican coming at from that perspective, oh, only Biden did the bad thing and Donald Trump did nothing. No. Yeah, it looks like all presidents, at least the last few that we know, have had some serious issues with making sure to follow the Presidential Records Act. Hey, sorry, if Biden improperly stored documents, then yeah, obviously you should fix that. Of course. But see, here's the thing. The thing that bothers me is the false equivalence of this situation between these two different cases, where you're holding Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and you're saying, oh, they did exactly the same thing, and they did it in the same way, and therefore somehow Biden is worse. No, that's stupid. When it comes to Donald Trump, he not only improperly stored the massive amount of documents he had taken from the White House, which, by the way, he could have avoided this entire situation had he just returned them. But no, he decided he's going to lie about them. He's going to accuse the FBI of planting them. After the FBI was forced to raid the compound. And this is from, by the way, the FBI under Trump appointee Christopher Wray, who did not want to do that. Then it continued to fail to cooperate with the National Archives. And then goes on unhinged social media cry fests over the fact that there is a special counsel that has been appointed. Do you see Joe Biden crying about the special counsel? No. He's been 100% cooperative. Democrats are 100% cooperative. Ilhan Omar recently went out and said, you know what, I think this is actually a good thing. Adam Schiff out there, he's like, well, you know, yeah, there's a chance that Biden did improperly treat documents, and we do need to take these things seriously. It's interesting. The difference that you see between the Democrats' reaction to Biden doing this, and I do think the Democrats, by the way, well, maybe not the Democratic Party, but the media itself, like CNN, doing an overreaction for the Biden documents thing, versus the Republicans who have ignored it, created conspiracy theories from it, and just swept it under the rug. And by the way, all three things at the same time. And so, look, is for Biden, again, he's been 100% cooperative. He's been directing his lawyers to turn his properties, his residences, upside down to find the documents, which I agree they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And they're returning them. Okay. Biden, again, didn't do what Trump had done. The reaction is really the difference here. He did not try to obstruct the return of said documents. The false equivalency here would normally be unbelievable, but it's totally believable because right-wing media has been looking desperately for any hint of scandal to hit Biden with that resonates with their audience. Notice how they don't talk about, you know, I guess they do talk about certain problems like inflation, the price of eggs, whatever, and they tie everything to Joe Biden himself 100%, while completely ignoring other economic factors, for example, the supply chain issues. Everything is Joe Biden's fault 100% of the time, when there are things that, yes, are maybe indirectly affected by the presidency, of course, but are oftentimes exacerbated by policies that conservatives or pro-corporate, both Democrats and Republicans, have pushed and passed. And by the way, Biden is also a pro-corporate Democrat. And it's a conservative Democrat. So come on. But anyway, the entire news cycle on the right wing has been focused on the alleged hypocrisy of going after Donald Trump for these documents, which, again, far worse than anything that Biden had done, and actually says, no, not only are these two things equal, but what Biden did was far, far worse somehow. But how? You can't make that case. Again, Donald Trump was a national security nightmare. Everybody knows it. The people who were working for him in the White House knew it. That's why there's like, oh, we got to stay in here and make sure that the baby does not, you know, completely destroy our national security and destroy our country. Now, that said, Biden, Clinton, and Obama, those administrations definitely made mistakes. They missed, some of the mishandled documents. Hillary Clinton, which, by the way, was not an administration. Sorry to make an incorrect reference there. But when Hillary Clinton was at the State Department, and she did her private email, that's mishandling of classified materials. And look, they opened themselves up to possibilities of information having been leaked. Or, of course, when you look at the Obama administration, you had the Snowden leaks. You had all sorts of different leaks that they alleged were national security issues. Now, I think the Snowden leaks were actually a good thing because we found out what our government was actually up to. That said, when it comes to national security, no administration is airtight. And I think in a lot of cases, or in some cases, that's a good thing that we can actually find out because there are whistleblowers and things, But again, it's not the same. Having a whistleblower, for example, in the Obama administration, is not the same for Donald Trump himself to be calling up Sean Hannity at like 3 a.m. or texting Roger Stone. Oh man, look at this. I got these documents. They said they're classified, but I'm president of the United States, so I can share them anyway. Check it out, buddy. This is pretty awesome. No, it's not the same thing. Look, there does need to be, in the Biden administration, an upgrading and updating of standards and procedures when it comes to, security for documentation, including, or I should say, especially in regards to cybersecurity. And that's something that gets glossed over a lot. But at the same time, like I said, the false equivalence drives me crazy. But we're going to continue to hear more and more about it as this goes on. Okay. All right. So let's move on to a more disastrous story. Because, of course. In a recently released taped deposition, former President Donald Trump is seen insulting former columnist E. Jean Carroll. E. Jean Carroll, of course, has accused the former president of rape back in the 1990s. So now excerpts of this testimony were unsealed by a court on Friday after a federal judge had rejected Trump's lawyer's request that it remain sealed. So look, as I mentioned before, and should have mentioned at the top of the segment here, content warning. Here we're going to have quotes from these excerpts that show a person viciously attacking a survivor of sexual assault. Okay, so content warning out of the way. Let's go. Carroll had alleged that she was attacked by Trump in a dressing room after they had had a chance meeting in a store and agreed to help him. This is an upscale, of course, Manhattan store, because you wouldn't see him doing this in like a Target or a Walmart. And she agreed to help him pick out lingerie for a friend back in the 90s. So the excerpts revealed a contentious battle between Trump and Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan. So she questioned him as Trump called the former longtime Elle magazine columnist the perpetrator of a quote-unquote complete scam, in which she described the rape as she was promoting a really crummy book. Quote, she said that I did something to her that never took place. There was no anything. I know nothing about this nut job. I will sue her after this is over. And that's the thing I really look forward to doing. And I'll sue you too, he told Kaplan. So look, before I get to more quotes, the same pattern, right? We're all familiar with the Trump pattern. I don't know who this person is. They're just trying to sell you something. They're trying to get famous off attacking me. I'm the victim. I'll sue her. I'll sue you. I'll sue everyone. But it gets worse. It gets worse. Some of the quotes here. Now, Trump said he knew it wasn't politically correct to say that she's not my type. That's another thing that we've seen, allegations that we've seen. Oh, I'd never rape her. She's just not my type. Disgusting. Now, he responded to claims shortly after Carol's 2019 book was published. Now, he went after her for saying that in her book, and she sued for defamation, or I'm sorry, is currently still suing for defamation, but has added on a sexual assault lawsuit. We'll get to the details on that. But he said, I'll say it anyway. She's accusing me of rape, a woman that I have no idea who she is. It came out of the blue. She's accusing me of raping her. The worst thing you can do. The worst charge. And you know it's not true, too. You're a political operative also. And he's speaking to the lawyer here. You're a disgrace. But she's accusing me, and so are you, of rape, and it never took place. He then later on, in the deposition, called Carol sick, mentally sick. Yeah. So he also mischaracterized an interview Carol had given on CNN. So get this, and this is what makes it worse, right? He then claimed that she had talked about enjoying the experience that he claims never happened. Quote, she actually indicated that she loved it, okay? She loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? She said it was very sexy to be raped. Didn't she say that? I mean, utterly disgusting. That statement right there. Oh, she said she enjoyed it. Even though I didn't do anything. I didn't actually do it, but she said she enjoyed the thing that I didn't do. In her allegation. What? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. It's a gross, gross allegation. Gross. So now Kaplan responded by asking him, so, sir, I just want to confirm, it's your testimony that E. Jean Carroll said that she loved being sexually assaulted by you. So I like this because this is the lawyer actually trying to get him to admit that he had indeed done what he's alleged to have done. Trump answered, well, based on her interview with Anderson Cooper, I believe that's what took place. And we can define that. I think she said that rape was sexy, which it's not, by the way. You don't have to say that. I mean, he's talking about, I mean, that's what she said. She said it was sexy, but, you know, I disagree with that. Why would you have to openly say that you disagree? But why is this is a conversation that had happened. Amazing. Now, look, Carol had said in her writing and in the interview with Cooper why she doesn't like to use the word rape. So she did not say what Donald Trump claimed she was saying. She actually said that she didn't want to use the word because some other people would say that rape is sexy. They would think that, she said. So she's like, I don't like to use that word. I would prefer to use the word fight, because I guess that's what she had to do. She's alleging, she's like, look, I had to fight him off. And so I guess that works. And look, understand too that I get it why survivors would not want to use the word rape, because it is incredibly triggering to people. And it brings back, you know, I think intense memories of what had happened. And so, yeah, I can definitely understand why you wouldn't want to use that word. So now, finally, at another point in the deposition, Kaplan asked another question, which I think is interesting. And it's if he had ever touched someone inappropriately without consent, and I mean private parts on a woman. So here's what he said, quote, well, I will tell you no, but you may have some people like your client that lie. What? some people, you know what? Donald Trump has had 26 accusers. 26 different women that we know of have accused him of sexual misconduct. You know, the majority of them, of course, didn't go to court. And you look at, you know, the dates of those alleged assaults, those incidents, and you can see why. There's a statute of limitations, which for me never really made a whole lot of sense to have a statute of limitations when it came to making a rape or sexual assault charge. I mean, what other crimes, you know, like you commit a crime and all you have to do is just like against another person, and you just have to wait, and then they'll eventually go, you know what? I know you did this crime, or we think you did this crime long time ago, 20 years ago. But since it was 20 years ago, we can't charge you. I know when you robbed that bank, you know, back in 2000, it's been 20 years. What are we going to do? Statute of limitations. It doesn't make sense at all. It just doesn't. And so, look, the fact that these, by the way, the fact that these women did not go after Trump is for, I mean, the reasoning for that, there's a lot of different reasons why these accusers did not come forward. And a lot of it has bad things to say about our society and how we treat victims of sexual assault. And so, look, for one, he's a wealthy celebrity. Definitely was at the time. He had a lot of influence back then, and I think in all politics. But now certainly he has more in Republican politics. And so there is that culture of silence. There is that police not taking these allegations seriously. I mean, just look at the giant backlog of rape kits that police never get to. Never solve these cases. And you just look at the culture. So now that said, Carol came forward back in 2019, wrote in her book that, yes, I was assaulted by, Donald Trump. He then mocked her. She sued for defamation. And New York recently changed its laws to make it so that victims could come forward even after the statute of limitations had passed. So E. Jean Carroll decided, well, I'm already out there. I'm already suing Donald Trump for defamation. I'm going to sue him for the assault as well. And so that happened back in November. Judge Kaplan then ruled on Friday that both cases, the defamation and the assault, can move forward. In his 28-page opinion, he said that the fact that adult victims of sexual abuse are legally and in some respects practically capable of filing a suit from the moment the abuse occurs was constitutionally immaterial. Basically, yes, just because they can file, that doesn't mean they will, because there's a lot of things to go through, a lot of hurdles, a lot of barriers for them to actually be able to get justice. The elected branches of New York state government, he wrote, have determined that many such victims are unable to do so, sometimes for long periods of time. They are prevented by suppression of awful memories or deterred by fear and a culture of silence. Just as Ms. Carroll claims, she was dissuaded from reporting or suing Mr. Trump. And I think that's really, really forward of him. I think that's fantastic that, this judge is like, yeah, ruled in this way and said there absolutely is this culture that silences victims, and they should be allowed to be heard in the courtroom. And that's what's going on here. So now the same judge also ruled Trump's appeals to get this dismissed as meritless. In fact, he wrote, the fact that Mr. Trump denies Ms. Carroll's allegations does not enter into the analysis at the stage of the case. What, if anything, actually occurred must await further proceedings if the complaint withstands the present motion. So basically, it's going to get adjudicated in court, and it should be. She should have that chance. I give E. Jean Carroll huge credit for coming forward. It cost her a lot personally. Again, she was literally fired from Elle magazine as a columnist for coming out with these allegations. So there's, right now, professional consequences to that. Plus, you have to factor in personal consequences as well. Unhinged chuds constantly attacking you, likely making threats as a result. There's a legion of some of the worst people out there who will probably inundated her with threats, including rape threats, by the way, for her standing up for herself. And not just for herself, but again, also for other Trump's other alleged victims. And so the fact that this case has gone forward, or these two cases has gone forward, I think that probably, I don't know, might be the tipping point. You might see more of these cases come forward now that Donald Trump is no longer president. All right, anyway, move on. Let's go to Rittenhouse. All right. Speaking of the best people, a Texas brewery is facing a flood of harassment after canceling an event featuring Kyle Rittenhouse. Southern Star Brewing Company of Conroe announced on Friday that it had canceled an upcoming rally against censorship, with Rittenhouse as one of the main guests that had been booked at the brewery. So now, of course, right-wingers responded to this by saying, "Oh, I can't believe you would censor a rally against censorship. Look at the censorship. So much censorship going on. Cancel culture." Now, the brewery, which had been listed as the event venue, said in a statement on Twitter that it is an apolitical organization, but felt that this event did not reflect their values and could not in good faith continue to rent out space for the event. They said, quote, on Twitter, "We don't do rallies. We make beer for people who like beer." Okay. And look, by the way, this wasn't just Kyle Rittenhouse coming to do like a motivational speech. This is a very political organization that had also brought on Kyle Rittenhouse to do a very political speech against the media. So I could understand why this brewery is like, oh, I don't want to get involved. All right. And look, according to CEO Dave Fogerin, said on Saturday morning during an interview that the cancellation has caused the brewery some problems. Quote, "It's been kind of a shitstorm. It's crazy that we're getting threats from people." Is it though? Is it really crazy? Considering, again, this person, CEO, describes himself as non-political, right? Apolitical. He's like, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the politics, man. Well, if you did, you would know that a lot of right-wing people who are insane. And I guess you're finding out firsthand the insanity. Now, let me give you some information about the event to show how it was absolutely divisive. The event organizer is Defiance Press, which is a Conroe-based publisher behind such titles, including Corona Fascism and a biography praising Joe Arpaio, the former Maricopa County, Arizona sheriff, who had refused a judge's order to stop racial profiling by his department. So, judge says, "Hey, you should stop racially profiling people, dude." And he's like, "No, my freedom to racially profile you. If you're a Mexican." Okay, so and this group is like, that's our guy. We love this guy. We're going to do a glowing biography on him. A little divisive, but it gets better. Defiance Press describes itself as active in the fight against censorship through publishing conservative books, which have been widely censored from mainstream media, according to their, their point of view. Now, some of the stuff that they talk about is called Texit, which is basically a movement to have Texas secede from the United States. Again, seems a little divisive. Just a little bit. They published these materials that support a secessionist movement. And in fact, the January 6th event was set to include the leader of Texas. Not exactly the people that you would want in speaking at your brewery if you want to sell beer to everybody. I'm just saying. Now, Fogerin said this. Now I'm more certain than ever that I made the right decision. Once he found out how insane these people are, he's like, whoa, oh, yeah, no, wow. I'm glad I canceled this one. Oh, wow. How did this event even get scheduled? I mean, that's an important question, right? Now, Fogerin said that he wasn't aware until a few days ago that the event's special guest was Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse, of course, polarizing figure. Whether or not you think it was self-defense or you agree with the court or not, he shot and killed 2 people. That's what he's known for. Like, that's literally his claim to fame on the right wing. Is that, yeah, he shot and killed 2 people and got acquitted for it. Yeah. Well, look, 2 people are dead. One's maimed. Rittenhouse is a public figure as a result. And by the way, he's considered a folk hero for many in the right wing. And he's been using his own celebrity status now in order to go after the media, saying that their opinion of him during the trial, the trial where he was on trial for shooting and killing 2 people, which absolutely did happen, shot and killed them, okay? He thinks that the media is the one that should be censored for having an opinion. Ah, right. Okay. But I'm against cancel culture. Now, here's what he said about this. Quote, "It's really disappointing to see that places continue to censor me and not allow my voice and many other voices to be heard because they bend to the woke crowd."
The wokers.
It's always the wokeness. That's the wokeness. By the way, it's noted that Rittenhouse posted this to his nearly 1 million Twitter followers. I'm being censored and canceled and silenced to my giant crowd of 1 million people. Yeah, okay, dude, you're such a victim. I know. Other high-profile right-wing accounts accused the brewery of censorship. Because, of course, they did. Now, here's the thing. The brewery is a private business. They have the right to host whoever the hell they want or not host. I don't think it's censorship for a private company to say, hey, look, we're just not interested in doing this overtly political rally at our brewery. We're just not interested in it. Like, sorry. Do they not have the right to refuse to give people a venue? Especially if they don't share their values? I mean, should they be forced to allow everyone to be able to do rallies? Neo-Nazis, for example. Should they be forced to have neo-Nazi rallies there? What about QAnoners? Should they be forced to have QAnoners? What about, look at the other extreme of the spectrum. Should they be forced to have Stalinists there? No, they shouldn't be forced to do any of those things. And not wanting to do that does not mean you're being censored. Where is the line? Where is the line? But that said, getting back to what Kyle called the woke mob. Oh, it's a pressure from the woke mob. Well, Fogerin said, actually, there wasn't a woke mob. Nobody said anything except for my patrons. In fact, it was the people that generally frequent that brewery, their customers, that were a little uncomfortable. They said, look, there wasn't a woke mob. Our distributors didn't say anything. It was just the people there. And look, here's the thing. I didn't know anything about this. Most people didn't. Most news outlets didn't report it. No one on the left cared about what Kyle Rittenhouse was up to. Really. Honestly, we all want to forget about this guy. And for a few blissful months, we did. He didn't exist. He was somewhere else. But well, here we go. Now he's back in the news. And so, look, what happened is the right wing lionizes him. They want to keep him around as a figure. He wants to be a public figure because that's the only thing that's going for him right now. Honestly, the only accomplishment he has in his life is killing 2 people and being on trial for it, being acquitted for it. So the right wing's like, okay, well, yeah, we're going to make this guy a celebrity, keep him around. We're going to invite him to podcasts and events. We're going to invite him to the RNC, one of those conventions, and, and apparently invite him to secession rallies. But supposedly against censorship, though. When I claim that, I wouldn't really, our goal of this rally is, of course, to say that how dare you censor me from wanting to do a civil war, because that's what would happen if Texas would secede or any state would secede. But okay, all right. But anyway, what happens is that they look for this controversy. And when it happens, they can go claim, oh, look, censorship. We're the victim. Fogren said that concerns from the local patrons led to his decision, saying that they were not comfortable with this event. Fogren also described himself as apolitical and said his brewery, which produces well-known local craft beers, strives to be a place that is welcoming to all. Quote, our place is super inclusive. We are super pro-veteran. We are super pro-law enforcement. We're trying to be good people in the community. We're friends with our firefighters, with our police department. We have a lot of gay patrons who come in because it's a place of inclusivity. We're just trying to get along with everybody. And we don't want to go near Kyle Rittenhouse because he's incredibly divisive. I get it. I understand why. Now, there's an irony here, though. In not hosting the event, they elevated it and gave Rittenhouse something that's far more valuable than a speaking engagement there. He gets the narrative. The woke mob has canceled me again. It's the wokers! The wokers! Now send me the money. Give me the attention. We need it. We need it. And understand that the right wing has a specific network set up to amplify conservative grievance. They realize they can get a lot more attention when something bad happens to them. So, they scream and cry about censorship and they scream and cry about cancel culture more so, than if he's allowed to speak. Because if he was allowed to speak there or held this little event, like 2 people would cover it and be like, oh, yeah, okay, Rittenhouse talked to like 12 people at this, at this brewery. No one cares. And what they want is the outrage. What they want is the controversy. They want to get canceled so they can cry. When they get aggrieved, their media, right-wing media, loves to make a story out of it. And then when they make a story out of it, everyone makes a story out of it. I'm making a story out of it. So again, this is what happens. This is a cottage industry that they have set up for aggrievement. And it's very, very beneficial to them to run this racket. Now, that said, I'm not saying I disagree with the owner in this decision. I think it's the right decision. Because again, I think any business is not going to want to host someone who is that divisive. And, of course, to listen to your patrons and they say, we're not interested in this event. But I am also pointing out, again, there is an irony here. And it's because of the unfortunate effect of the current media atmosphere in this country where conservatives are going out of their way looking for perpetual victimhood. That's what it's all about. Okay. Let's go to George Santos. If that's his real name, which apparently Might not be. We just don't know.
So my name is Anthony DeVolder. I'm a New York City resident. I've recently founded a group called United for Trump, so if you guys want to follow, that would be awesome. My question's directed for both Blair and Brandon. Well, Brandon's an idol to all of us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was now freshman House Representative George Santos going by another name, Anthony DeVolder. Now, look, I've been saying, like, half jokingly, half not jokingly, the recent stories about Santos? I don't know what to call him anymore. About, like, if that's his real name. Well, it turns out I was kind of right. Now, that 2019 clip showed Santos / DeVolder / whoever this person is in an audience addressing a panel at New York City event, encouraging members of the LGBTQ community to leave the Democratic Party. So it's their own version of walk away, and you could see like Blair White there, a anti-LGBT trans woman. I know it's very strange, but also very lucrative for them. Now, that introduction came just months before he ran for Congress the first time and lost, using the name George Santos, as the New York Times reported. Now, that said, he used other names, and you even had a Republican official that was introducing Santos questioning it. Here's that.
George Santos. George, who we know is a friend, and he's known as Anthony DeVolder to me. So I don't know where George Santos came into the thing, but that's what it says here.
I mean, you know, I know him as Anthony. There's George. He's a friend of ours, but apparently we don't know a lot about our friend. Like, we don't even know what his name is. What's going on here? So now, by the way, he stepped up to the podium after that and introduced himself as George Anthony DeVolder Santos, commonly known as just Anthony. Oh, do we? Okay, so wait, is that it? Is he Anthony? Or is he George? What do I call you? Who are you? Now, Insider reported that Santos also listed his full name as George Anthony DeVolder Santos. But CNN has also discovered social media posts from 2020, of which he goes by the name of George DeVolder. I mean, all of these things are, these names apparently are interchangeable. Okay? You know what would solve this problem? I want to see the birth certificate. Yeah, you know what? I'm going there. Let's see the documents. Let's see the papers. Come on. I do. I want to see them. Okay? Just for verification so that I know what to call this guy. Let's see the documents. Because look, he's such a prolific liar that we can't trust anything that he says. Anything. And by the way, add that to the number of ridiculous lies he has told other people. For example, some of the more ridiculous ones. He said that he claimed that he played volleyball at Baruch College in New York. He did not go to Baruch College. And then he took it a step further. He said that, I went to Baruch College and I was a star volleyball player. And by the way, I was a star volleyball player until I had to get both of my knees replaced. Not just one, both of them. My knees blown right out being a star volleyball player. I used to be a adventurer like you until both of my knees got blown out. And okay, Anthony or George or whatever your name is. Again, Baruch College said we don't have any record of this guy. at all. At all. And by the way, he also claims to have graduated summa cum laude, ranked top 1% of his class, he says. I'm in the top 1%. I had 3.89 GPA. He's doing so good. He also posted his GMAT score on his resume, which is funny. You take the GMAT for your MBA, right? Then just post that you have an MBA. Why would you post your score? It doesn't make any sense until you realize the guy was just making things up. He was just like, oh, I got an MBA here. I went to this college, star volleyball player. Oh, until I lost both my kneecaps. Very, very sad story. I'll tell you about it sometime after I make it up. Oh, here we go. I got a 710 on my GMAT here. Okay, yep, that's the ticket. That's the ticket right there. Yeah, 710. So worked at Goldman Sachs. Really? He didn't work at Goldman Sachs. He didn't work at Citigroup. He never again didn't run a pet charity. Remember, because I did a story where he had claimed that he ran a charity called Friends for Pets, or like Friends of Pets, something like that. That they checked the records, they found that it didn't exist, that it wasn't a charity, that there were no records of it at all, of a 501c3. He's not Jewish. He says, oh, I'm a Catholic, but I'm Jewish. His family, he claimed, ran from the Holocaust. They didn't. They were born in Brazil. He also apparently had been married to a woman, I think up until like 2019. And now he's openly gay, allegedly. I don't know. I don't believe anything he says. But aside from all the ridiculous, goofy stuff of him lying on his resume, he's also under investigation for financial issues. So, okay. The company he started back in 2021, called the DeVolder Organization, had no website and was dissolved not long after it was started, and yet somehow made him a six-figure salary, from which he, I believe, loaned his campaign money from. So that would be a campaign finance violation if that's true. And so there are other issues that they're investigating for, but again, mainly due to this financial stuff. It's gotten so bad that Nassau County Republicans have called on him to resign. Now, that's New York Republicans, right? When it comes to the national Republicans, people like Kevin McCarthy are like, oh, no, you know what? We shouldn't shut him for lying. I mean, we shouldn't shut him at all. Yeah, maybe he's made some mistakes. But, you know, he voted for me as first speaker. And he's a solid Republican vote in a Biden district. So, you know, we're just going to ignore that. You shouldn't shut him, though, because he's very politically advantageous for me and the rest of the party. So, you know, we're just not going to do anything. Got it. Okay. Let's move on. One last story here. Constraint Agency says, yeah, because it would cost Republicans a seat, so no one will hold them accountable, and you've nailed it 100%. 100%. All right. A House Republican made some pretty nonsense claims about people wanting him to support a plan to cut Social Security.
For what reason the age of retirement? That's interesting that you asked that question. People come up to me, they actually don't work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's on the table, you're saying?
Well, if people want to work on it, maybe you need to give them an incentive to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a way to solve every one of these problems, by the way.
I know, I know.
And actually grow wealth at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Just take that right there.
That was Representative Rick Allen of Georgia, pretty much lying. Who's going to come out there and say, oh, yeah, by the way, I really want you to cut Social Security so I can work longer? Yeah. No, the people that approach him were likely not workers, but his corporate donors who desperately do want to cut Social Security and Medicare. So now, look, we want to work longer. Obviously, not something that the average person is saying. It's a talking point, though, used by people who eventually want to privatize Social Security. And they do that by, of course, cutting back benefits more and more and more, and then saying, oh, well, you would do much better if we were to privatize it. And then once they get control of the different houses of Congress and the presidency, which can happen, then they would cut Social Security. But first they have to undermine it. But that said, right, large majority of voters, including Republican voters, they're not buying this. 83% across party lines say that, no, we don't want to see Social Security cut. In fact, we want it expended. And we want wealthy people contributing their fair share to this program. That's the way to save it. Cutting benefits is not the way to save Social Security. It's to make the wealthy pay their fair share to the program. Now, here's the thing. He says, well, you just got to think about it, right? It's all right here. We should give people incentive to work longer because they keep telling me they want us to work longer, so we'll give them an incentive. That doesn't make any sense. If people want to work longer, they will. Look, my grandma, she retired, and then she took odd jobs. She worked as a bartender. She worked at Meijer. And so she had done these odd jobs, mainly, I guess, to get out of the house, but also to help support some of my other family members. All right. So, by the way, that was her choice to do that. She was also a strong proponent of Social Security retirement benefits and Medicare for all and wealthy people paying their taxes. She was a Bernie Sanders supporter. So understand that, yes, she collected retirement and also worked. Just because some people choose to work after they retire doesn't mean they need an incentive in the form of cutting benefits. If anything, like I said before, benefits are too low for retirees. And that's the other thing, too. Benefits are incredibly low. And yeah, some people already have to work if they're able to. And there's a lot of retirees who are not able to. But we know who's pushing this narrative. It's industry groups. Industry groups, conservative think tanks, they use their massive amounts of money, corporate money, to buy off Republican politicians. So now Allen himself is part of the Republican Study Committee, which is a House GOP panel that released a policy agenda last year calling for gradually raising the retirement age from 60 to 67 to 70, partially privatizing the program, and then means testing benefits. That means, again, cutting benefits for you, excluding people from the program, which is supposed to be a universal program, and then phasing it out. That's the ultimate goal here, to get rid of it, which would be a horrible disaster for retired people. In fact, before Social Security, elderly people of retirement age lived in abject poverty. And again, going back to the whole point of, they want to work longer, right? You also have age discrimination for employment. You have a lot of older people that have a very, hard time, even when they want to find work, finding work because of age discrimination. There are employers that don't want to pay what older people are worth. People who have had 20, 30 years of experience in this field, 40 years of experience even. They're like, we don't want to pay you that. We're just going to hire somebody who, has no or little experience so we can pay them less. And by the way, it's also not good for younger people if older people cannot retire, because that prevents younger people from getting into those same jobs and careers as well and to do their own career advances. It's a terrible idea to raise the retirement age for everyone, except for people who will make money from privatizing it. And we're talking about hedge funders. We're talking about people on Wall Street. And again, we're talking about corporations that save money on taxes, that want to make sure to privatize every federal program, not just the ones that, again, aren't affected by taxes, because, again, no Social Security, Social Security is not funded by any tax money. But again, they want to do that and then springboard to cutting even more government benefits, of which they actually do have to pay into taxes for. So overall, it's a gigantic goal of shrinking government for them as much as possible, which means they pay less, they have less government, and they're able to monetize things like, again, Medicare, which they already are in these Medicare Advantage plans, which are a gigantic ripoff for the consumer. And then, of course, privatizing retirement, which is what they want to do. So overall, you have these politicians that don't give a damn about retired people and just want to protect their corporate donors and, allow Wall Street to be able to monetize other people's retirements so then they can also benefit from those campaign contributions from Wall Street. That's what Republicans are fighting for. To prop up private plans. To let these investors profit off your retirement. That's what they're fighting for. And during a House Republican conference meeting last week, a slide presentation indicated that GOP intends to use its narrow majority in the chamber to push for reforms to, quote unquote, mandatory spending programs, a category that includes Social Security and Medicare. That's what their plan is. They've been very, very open about it, very honest about it, that they want you to work until you die. No retirement for you unless you're born wealthy. Hey, when people tell you who they are, you should listen to them. Philman 1051 says the main reason is without Medicare and working longer, less and less people have accidents in the job. Imagine a 70-year-old firefighter, truck driver, and so on. No, that's a good point. Yeah, there are some people that just, again, can't do those jobs because may not have the reaction time. They may have repeated, injuries from doing a job 30 or 40 years if it's physically intensive. My grandpa retired, and he had worked at a ball bearing factory for I don't know how many decades, most of his life, honestly. And it ruined his hips. It just absolutely destroyed his hips, as well as his, shoulders, rotator cuff. I mean, he's had to have all that stuff replaced because of all the repetitive strain put on that from his job. And not just from his job, but from also, doing farm work at home. But I'm pretty sure that repetitive motion, repetitive work in the factory didn't help. So you're going to ask somebody like that to go back into the workforce? It's ridiculous. Okay, the main reason is without Medicare and working longer, less and less people will make it to retirement. Well, that makes more sense. All right. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Let's go through and read some super chats. Mark Davis gets my reference. George Sanders used to be an adventurer like you until he took an arrow to the knee. Yes, both knees in this case. Gabby Mathis says SSI is paid for by my tax deduction and it's my entitlement. Don't take it away from us workers. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Madi Darno says enough exploitation, peaceful direct action. Yes, absolutely. Again, agreed. Jeanette Lyons on Facebook says, what after working 33 years, I can't get the money that I worked for? That's crazy. We need to get rid of these people. I don't think they should have control of our money. It's not fair to the people who put their money into it. Do they realize that the bones and muscles don't do the same things they do when they are young? Jeanette, you're right. The thing is, they don't care. They really just don't care. And by the way, a majority, I don't know if it's a majority, but I would say that a lot of their voters, a huge chunk of their voters, are on Social Security. And by the way, this is also why they say, well, we're not going to touch current benefits. It's just for younger people. So we're going to protect the people that are already on the program. They're already retired. But we're going to raise it for younger people. We're going to screw them over. And we're going to keep our voting base. And so, like, tactically, it's smart, but it's evil. It's evil, but it is smart politically. But also not smart politically because you have a lot of people who, when they realize what the Republicans are up to, even if they're not on Social Security or even if they are and they're protected, still think that's horribly unfair. No, we support this program. We should expand this program. And we shouldn't be raising the retirement age on anyone. So, but nonetheless, I don't think a lot of people, at least when it comes to those who watch right-wing media, are aware of what's going on. And maybe they're out there hearing something completely different, like, oh, it's the Democrats don't want to cut it. You never know with right-wing media. But okay, anyway, thank you for those comments. Go over here to Twitch, by the way. Toolman Tim, 51, thank you for resubbing with Prime for 17 months. Torch Crimson, thank you for resubbing for a month Tier 1 for 4 months. And Rialin 86, thank you for resubbing for a month at Tier 1 for 13 months. Thank you very much. God's favorite mathematician says on Twitch, my grandfather died from a heart attack on the job. He worked as a track maintenance for the MTA in New York. He was only in his 50s at the time. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah. Young people won't vote Republican. The old Republicans are dying off. Well, I mean, the good thing is the demographics are not in favor of them for now, which again gets us into another topic here. That I've talked about a lot on the show before is how they're going after young people, changing education, going after the things that they believe are making people vote more progressive and against Republicans. And so there is that thing to be concerned about, their efforts to indoctrinate young people into right-wing beliefs. Again, another thing for another show. Anyway, thank you for all that, all the comments and stuff. Again, like and share. Everybody, have a great day. Enjoy your MLK day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place, same channel. So, love you all, and remember, change begins with you.
Don't do it. I tell you, don't do it.
There's no ice cream in hell.
Up yours, Wolf Warner. We'll see who cancels who.
Really?
Sexual anarchy.
Civilians in Venezuela.
Internet.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Bitch, move it along.